Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel, where we bring you critical and in-depth reviews of just about every indie game we can get our hands on, and today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty interesting indie called Path to Mnemosyne for the Nintendo Switch. And yes, I actually did do the research. I finally looked at a pronunciation guide. It is Mnemosyne, which is the goddess of memory. So I mean, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool title. Got to expect a pretty cool game. And in all reality, we do get one. But unfortunately, like a lot of games that are based around their own story, you don't really get to know it up front. And all we really get to know about this story, at least at the beginning of the game in this horrific little indie, is that we are in a situation, and apparently, at least according to the narrator, we chose to be here in order to unlock or recover our own memories. But with the creeptastic nature of the game's minimalistic dialogue, that's all we really know, if we even know that at all. Diving into the actual gameplay though, Path to Mnemosyne, it's kind of just like its title says. It's a path. And according to the developers, it was kind of adopted from this idea of this never-ending far-focus zoom. And if you're a fan of fractal geometry, yeah, it's like the deeper you go, the more intimately bizarre it gets, but thematically the more it stays the same. Like constantly zooming in on some overly complicated, in-depth, and eccentrically beautiful fractal art. But we'll get more into that in that section of the review. For right now, the gameplay is kind of along the nature of a puzzle game and a walking sim, because all you really have to do besides solving the actual puzzles is control the path and trajectory of your character toward the physical end of the game. However, as you are walking down this path trying to recollect your lost memories, you will be solving puzzles nearly every step of the way. Your memories are generally hidden in a white pylon as a small little orb on top. And as soon as you solve the requisite puzzle, they burst into a little blue flame and become collectible. And whether those puzzles are stepping on a certain series of buttons to light up certain lights, or maybe spinning the Stargate, you'll need to collect all of your lost or hidden memories to be able to access the final puzzle at each chapter's end. Now, as I've said before, the game is more like a fractal or a constant zoom, so there's really no division of chapters, and you can pretty much beeline it all the way from the first step of the game all the way to the end. But in order to even attempt to solve the puzzle at each of those giant thresholds, you'll have to first collect all of your memories in the area because they kind of act as the puzzle pieces for the puzzle you're going to try to solve. And thankfully, though the mechanical puzzles in the game are quite similar, there certainly is a broad variety, and as you expect the further you get into the game, not only the more bizarre the imagery will be, but the deeper the story gets and the more intense the puzzling becomes, the further you get toward the end. But taking a break from the general gameplay and looking at the Path to Mnemosyne as a visual piece for its presentation and its audio, it is absolutely breathtaking and beautiful, and I mean that more in the way of Geiger's art is beautiful. It's horrific. But somehow it's so organic and so disturbing that it can only be described as actually being somehow beautiful. And if you're into that and you haven't checked out the review yet, you might want to look at another game we reviewed called Tamashii, which I'm going to have the link popping down right about now. Audio-wise, the game is really, really well done, and that is with one exception that I'll talk about in the critiques. But other than that one exception, it's a really, really surrealistic audioscape that keeps you locked in that dream-esque feeling that you really can't tell if you're actually doing something or locked into some sort of hallucinogenic, hypnotic state. So seriously, as far as the presentation of the Path to Mnemosyne goes, it's pretty amazing for an indie game. But despite all that praise, there are a few things that a gamer really might want to know before diving in. And the first and foremost, as you've probably come to expect from a lot of indie game titles, is its price versus its length. Because if we discount how long some of the puzzles might hold you up, the Path to Mnemosyne might be more like the short jaunt to Mnemosyne. And the entirety of the gameplay may take anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes. And while I would normally say that's actually pretty awesome for an indie game, especially for this quality of presentation and the quality of the story, for the regular list price of $9.99, I do think that is a little bit much to ask. Now, if this were a physical copy, I'd probably shell out about $19.99, but for a 1-hour digital game, yeah, $10 seems a bit high for the asking price. So if you can manage to snag it on sale, go for it. But the next thing about the game, besides its length is a bit of an issue I found with lag. And I'm not really sure if it was just a just me thing because I haven't really heard anyone else talking about it, but clipping and skipping visually between frames, or sometimes the further I got into the game, between entire character movements, while it was totally manageable and forgivable early on, it got bad enough that it was pretty distracting toward the end of the game. But let me preface this with a bit of a comment that I do all of my recording with the Switch in docked mode, and that does actually put a lot of strain on the Switch's GPU. And so it could be because I wasn't playing it in handheld, or it could be an issue with the port, I'm not really sure. But it happened, so I'm going to mention it. The last critique though is a bit nitpicky, and it may just be me, but Path to Mnemosyne has audio prompts. And that's amazing, that's awesome. I love it when there's audio cues to kind of get me going to where I need to go. But the audio cues in Mnemosyne are tied to specific actions, or I should say specific checkpoints, to kind of move the audio package of the game forward. And so at one point of the game, I kind of wandered further down the path, I guess, than I should have, and I was constantly prompted about every 6 seconds by a soft, soothing voice saying, "Hurry, find your lost memories." And I'd take about 3 steps and I'd hear, "Hurry, find your lost memories." And I'd try and finding my lost memories, and then I'd just hear, "Hurry, find your lost memories." And while initially I actually started to think it was kind of funny, it got really frustrating because it was linked to one specific one. You had to find the one first, you know? And I had found a half dozen other ones that I couldn't access because I hadn't gotten the first one first. But again, that is pretty nitpicky. And if you follow the game's linear trajectory, you probably wouldn't run into that, but I like to go off into the weeds and explore, so I kind of did that to myself. But anyway, that does about bring us to the end of the review of Path to Mnemosyne for the Nintendo Switch. So if you enjoyed the review, or especially if you found it helpful, feel free to throw us a like or a comment to show your support, and don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. Because there are new and unique indie games coming out literally every single day. So whether it's an easy hard pass or an absolutely unforgettable gem, chances are if it's on the Switch, you're gonna find out about it right here. But anyway, this has been The Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.